Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2018. Nice new year to start us off. I will call to order this regular meeting of the Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board. The date is January 16th, 2018, and the time is 5:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Vice President Hartman, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have a roll call starting from my far right.
Sandy Kravitz.
Allison Beckham.
Pam Kirby.
Kim Hartman.
Barbara Perleberg. All board members are present, and we do have a quorum. We move right to our item 3, approval of agenda. Are there any requests to amend the agenda? I believe we have some items that we'd like to pull from consent. Is that correct? Board member Beckham?
Could I please pull item N? Do I need to state what it is?
That is the approval of the purchase of multiple commodities and services through the One Government Procurement Alliance, One GPA Purchasing Cooperative, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Thank you.
And Board Member Hartman? Did you have, no? Board Member Kirby? Sorry. We'll
Thank you.
those.
I'd like to pull item O, approve the purchase of school buses through the Mojave Educational Services Cooperative Mojave contract.
All right. Excellent. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Board Member Beckham?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Vice President Hartman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We move next to item 4. The board president calls upon Dr. Birdwell to present recognitions and celebrations.
And we are going to start with elementary with Miss Ibarra. She's over there.
Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board members, Superintendent Birdwell, Dr. Birdwell. I have one elementary level celebration to share with you today. I'd like to introduce you to the people behind the Scottsdale office of Primary Residential Mortgage Incorporated. Jeff Rooker is the branch manager, Dusty Rooker is the office manager, and Megan Augustine is the marketing manager. I'd like to ask if they would join me at this time if they are here. I'd also like to ask Mr. Martinez, the principal at Yavapai, if he would come up at this time. I'm guessing you're Jeff.
Yes.
Hi. Hi, Dusty. Nice to meet you. Let me tell you why they all came up here. Founded in 1998 and headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah, Prime Residential Mortgage Incorporated has grown into a nationwide multi-billion-dollar operation with more than 1,800 employees. PRMI is a privately held company that mostly focuses on traditional residential mortgage products. Since the opening in 2010, PRMI Scottsdale branch has grown into a team of trusted and qualified loan originators. It has continuously been named as the one of PRMI's top branches nationwide, helping more than 70,000 borrowers. In fact, the Scottsdale office ranked first out of PRMI's 247 branches nationwide for assisting the most people with their dreams of homeownership in 2016. Congratulations. PRMI, though its giving network, has partnered with the Kids in Need Foundation to positively impact and empower children, families, and communities nationwide. Its mission is to help transform communities around the globe and to inspire and create real change through nutrition, services, and education. During 8 weeks last fall, PRMI Giving Network undertook what is called the Backpack Challenge to provide school supplies to low-income children. Every $25 contributed resulted in one backpack filled with necessary school supplies such as pencils, paper, and notebook. The goal was to raise at least $5,000 per office. Here at home, PRMI raised $5,027 for the Thunderbirds at Yavapai Elementary School, and a fabulous event that was held right before winter break to deliver the backpacks to the kids, who were very thrilled. I know that came up on our website. It was very exciting. The kids were all celebrating. So on behalf of the elementary, I would like to thank you for doing that for us. I'd also like to see if you would like to say a few words this time.
This was a great honor. And going over those numbers, the only mistake we made is we didn't set our goal higher. So we've doubled it for 2018. We did. We doubled it for 2018. My parents are educators, so this really hit home with me, and just appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, would you like to say something?
Yes. So, Madam President, members of the board, we were the lucky ones. You know, we got the call that we were going to get these backpacks, and just, you know, it's just simply amazing and awesome for us to be recognized that way. And they were excited. We all met in the cafeteria, and they were sitting there, and they saw them, and we made some announcements, and then they started passing them out, and it was just like, what more do you want, you know? It was just a wonderful, wonderful day. So on behalf of Yavapai, and I have Mr. May here, so we want to thank you, and our students thank you, and it was just simply awesome. So thank you. I mean, you know, it was cool.
Oh, right on.
We're going to send you guys outside for a picture. So thank you again.
Thanks again. Always wonderful when we have a local business who sees our students' need and then meets it, so we very much appreciate it. And their son was a graduate of Desert Mountain High School last year, so we appreciate that legacy. So at this time, I invite Dr. Johnson up for some secondary pieces.
Good afternoon, President Perleberg, Governing Board members, and Superintendent Birdwell. District Fine Arts Coordinator Nathan Johnston and I have a celebration to share with you this afternoon. Will the following Chaparral High School students please join us at the podium? Allison Pear and Alana Colby. Also their art teacher, Marcy Warner, if she is here, and Chaparral Principal, Dr. Angela Chimokos. For the past 30 years, the Scottsdale Sister Cities Association has sponsored an art and writing competition for students in our community, aged 13 through 18. Here to tell us more about it is Nathan Johnston.
Good evening, President Perleberg, board members, Superintendent Birdwell, and Sandra. As Dr. Johnson mentioned, the Scottsdale Sister Cities Association has offered the Young Artist and Author Showcase program for 30 years. Students submit pieces to thematic pieces to a professional jury for evaluation. And this year's theme, The Art of Diplomacy, showcases the importance of both institutional and citizen diplomacy efforts to achieve peace. We had 6 SUSD winners, and I'd like to briefly share with you about 4 of them and then introduce you more specifically to these 2 young ladies. Gabrielle Guzman is Carolee McGraw's student from Coronado High School, and that piece was Peace Across Borders. Gabriella received 2nd place and a $125 cash award. Dasani Alvarez is Ann Wilkins' student from Desert Mountain High School with a piece entitled Conforming that received an honorable mention and a $75 cash award. Drew Dodge is another one of Marcy Warner's students from Chaparral High School with a piece titled Harmony, which received an honorable mention and a $75 cash award. And in the written or authorship category, Kyle Polin is Carolyn Herring's student from Chaparral High School with a poem titled The World's Game, which received 1st place and a $175 cash award in the writing category. And today we have Allie and Alana. Sorry. And I want to tell you a little bit about their work and with their own words. So Alana's piece titled Eyes of the City received third place in a $100 cash award. And as it was described, this piece represents the connectivity of humanity, other life forms, and the objects we create on the planet. It shows the relationships we hold within our cities as well, and the way that we build the diversity and the life living within cities. And that piece won third place and a $100 cash award. Allie's piece, The Future Puzzle Makers, received first place and a $175 cash award. And she described it as, on the surface, Future Puzzle Makers depicts 3 young children completing a 50-piece state flag puzzle. As a group, the 3 children must work together towards success. This chalk composition is a metaphor for the realities people are faced with in each aspect of their lives, whether participating in the workforce, advancing a personal relationship, or simply solving a problem. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Nathan. Allison and Alana, congratulations on your award-winning entries to the 2018 Sister Cities Young Artists and Authors Showcase. We hope you continue to share your considerable artistic talents with us and the greater Scottsdale community. In the meantime, you can see these students' award-winning entries in the South Hall of the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts through February 26th. Here now is Dr. Steve Nance, Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services, with today's last celebration.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Dr. Johnson and Ms. Abar to come on up or stay up here and help me out. President Perleberg, members of the board. In 1987, the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards launched a certification program for K-12 educators that's widely considered to be one of the finest single professional development programs available to teachers in the nation. The challenging process of becoming a National Board certified teacher usually takes at least 2 years, sometimes longer. Those who achieve certification status report that the process changes the way they think about their profession and has a profound positive impact on the way they teach students. The certification is good for 10 years, so we would like to start our celebration this afternoon by recognizing the 7 SUSD teachers who have recently renewed their certifications, which will now be good until the year 2028. So as I call your name, please come on up here. We have something for each of you, and maybe we could get you to form a line across the front here, and then we will recognize the whole group. From Redfield Elementary School, 2nd grade teacher Megan Kratz. From Pueblo Elementary School, gifted teacher Alicia Majorson. From Cherokee Elementary, learning resource teacher Brenda Nelson. Also from Cherokee, 2nd grade teacher Donna Schieber. From Cocopah Middle School, gifted teacher Mary Pasco. And we have 2 teachers who are renewing that were not able to be here this evening. Allison Bosworth, who teaches 2nd grade at Hopi, and Jennifer McCall, who teaches biology at Chaparral High School. Let's recognize them. And now we have 10 SUSD teachers who are receiving their new National Board certifications. Please join me as I call your names. From Kiva Elementary, music teacher Bonnie Bizon. From Laguna Elementary, first grade teacher Christina Deball. From Arcadia High School, honors and AP math teacher Jennifer Duclos. From Cochise Elementary, first grade teacher Patty Malley. From Saguaro High School, art teacher Michelle Peacock. From Desert Canyon Middle School, 8th grade social studies teacher Heather Robinson. From Cocopah Middle School, art teacher Kathy Serraniero. From Desert Canyon Elementary, physical education teacher Julie Sparks. From Mojave Middle School, 7th grade science and robotics teacher Bert Teveld. We will. From Mountainside Middle School, Jennifer Antrim, social studies teacher, was not able to be with us today, so let's please recognize her. Now, there's a little bit more to this. The certification process is challenging, and taking it on while also teaching full-time is a major commitment. Thankfully, our teachers are supported along the way by a cadre of current and retired teachers who we would like to also recognize today. So if these teachers would please join us up here as I call your name. The team is headed up by Susan Leonard, who teaches PE at Ingleside Middle School. There you are. Abby Bobbitt, Laguna, 4th grade teacher. Thank you. Cochise, 1st grade teacher Tammy Andreas. Coming back to help us out, retired Cochise teacher Mary Zongalowitz. Retired Copper Ridge teacher Bobby Faulkner. And one more member of the team who could not be here this evening, Debbie Hawkins, who teaches 1st grade at Laguna. Let's give her a hand. So thank you everyone for joining us today and for the passion you have to educate all of our students in this district every single day. We're grateful for everything you do. Congratulations.
Okay, tough act to follow, but thank you all. Wonderful. We move on to item 5. We call upon Dr. Birdwell to present the superintendent's comments.
Well, we are truly in a new year. Interesting enough, it's passed quickly. But these are also very interesting times that we are in. You know, we're experiencing a culture that lacks civility. We find ourselves being bullied online, cyber attacks, personal attacks, harassments of a district that is truly focused on learning. And meanwhile, we have a media that has been promoting stories that have very little merit. One might even define it as fake news. It seems that there has been politically motivated individuals who would like to shift the focus of the Scottsdale district away from accountability and learning. And these individuals like to take a single fact and create a fairy tale. And in that fairy tale, they like to misrepresent the truth. Well, I wanted to make a statement tonight to assure the community and the governing board that as we move forward in this critical time, we will remain focused on our students and our employees, aligning our resources to the classroom and teachers' pay. You may have seen the governor's recent event. We stood behind him as Superintendents United in bringing dollars back to the schools so that we could see teacher increase in pay. And if that plan moves forward, we will be very excited to put those initial dollars in the pay of our teachers, supporting the great work that's going on. And as you saw a few minutes ago, you saw some wonderful teachers who have dedicated many, many hours to raising expectations. So we in Scottsdale continue to put our students first and look forward to the future. As the new year provides us an opportunity to lay out what we want to achieve in the next 12 months, even more focused in the next few months, we want to wrap up the employee handbook. We know that's a critical component for our employees to understand that we do support them. The initial work is promising. Much of what did exist in the handbook is being brought over. We look forward to these presentations coming up in the next couple of weeks. We do have an outstanding teaching force here in Scottsdale. We want to make sure that we continue to support them as they continue to support our students. As we resume this semester, we will continue to have coffee with the cabinet, having those updates on finances and educational issues and political issues that are occurring both inside our district and outside. Why do we have those meetings? To create clarity and communication. Also want to acknowledge a couple more individuals. This Friday, I should say, at Arcadia High School, we do have that wonderful moment of the district spelling bee. If you've never been to one, please attend it. It is exciting. Our young people get very excited about it. One of the hardest moments ever as a superintendent is judging the spelling bee and watching the disappointment on that child's face if they misspell that word. But please join us and be a part of it. Also want to congratulate the robotics team from Kiva and Yavapai Elementary Schools and Kokopah Middle School and Cayenne Traditional School. They took part this past weekend in the first Legos League State Championship held at ASU. The mission and projects this year dealt with the use, the movement, and the storage of water, and the students came up with fascinating solutions to the current water issues. So Yavapai Thunderbolts finished second in the 92 team competition, and we should congratulate them out of 92. And Kiva won the Judges Award for its proposed solution to cleaning up major oil spills. And for someone who lived in Alaska, oil spills do happen, and you must address those. So thanks for putting that current issue out there. And Cheyenne won an Innovative Solutions Award to the campus water tank storage facilities issue. So again, congratulations to all three schools. So I encourage us in this new year to find a way to remain positive and focused on students, accountability, and learning, and not let those who choose to derail that mission succeed in such a destructive manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Birdwell, for those comments and your dedication. We will move directly to our item 6, information discussion items. Item 6A, 2017-2018 School Continuous Improvement Plans is first up.
Thank you, President Perleberg. Not to say that the rest of the board meeting isn't exciting, but this is my favorite part. I get to bring up two principals this afternoon or this evening. And my first one, we're going to do a little mix-up. We're going to do a K-8 first. We're going to have Ms. Kat Hughes come up and talk about Echo Canyon. And right after her, we're going to do elementary, and we're going to bring Kristen Kinghorn to come up and talk about her school. So at this time, if Ms. Hughes would come up, that'd be great, along with some of her staff members.
Got to get this fandangled thing to work. Hey, look, I've learned something since the last time I was in front of you. Look at that, I got it up. Good evening, President Perleberg, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, Cabinet. I am so excited to be here tonight with part of my team to present a small sliver of our continuous improvement plan for this year. And when I say small sliver, our document is actually 28 pages long. So with that being said, we did limit ourselves to 4 slides, and we will not be here all night. I would like to introduce our team members. First of all, we're going to start with Angeline Chassie, who teaches 5th grade for us at Echo Canyon. She has been with Scottsdale for 2 years. Then we've got, next, we're going to go in order of age, or years in Scottsdale, not age. So we have 7 years in Scottsdale, Marin Velarde, who teaches in our preschool program. World-renowned Marin Velarde. Then we've got Dusty Thomas, who teaches our middle school Math for Success initiative, which is an elective intervention period, and he also helps coach our K-5 math teachers. And then Gloria Keenan, who has been with our district now for 12 years, and she teaches 4th grade for us. The original plan was I would stop speaking at this point and hand it over. Unfortunately, Marin has lost her voice, so I get to talk. So we started our continuous improvement plan for this year at the end of last year. We really said we needed to have goals with a focus. And we started with our Title I Comprehensive Needs Assessment, the CNA is what we call it. And it's rather lengthy, and we had every single teacher complete it on our May early release. Then, over the course of the summer, our Title I leadership team, in conjunction with our teacher instructional leadership team, picked apart that data with a fine-tooth comb. We also went through our student achievement data, both our benchmark and our AZ merit, with a fine-tooth comb. We took the feedback from our district walkthroughs as well as walkthroughs that we have done as site administration as well as our leadership team. We've also taken some anecdotal evidence. We asked our teachers, what kind of school do you want? Knowing that we made the change from ANLC as a multi-age school to Echo Canyon with looping, we had to have some conversations about what kind of school do we want. We also took that to our PTO and our site council and asked them for some further information. We also, prior to my arrival at ANLC, had participated in the Arizona Math Project, AMP for short, and we were invited last year to do a pretty comprehensive program review, which included the folks from Arizona State University? SCC. SCC, thank you, who came out and observed our teachers in the classroom, both those teachers that had been AMP certified and those that had not been through the project, and gave us a 100-page comprehensive document on what our teachers did really well and where we could grow. So we used that feedback to really highlight our focus for 2018 was going to be first best instruction for all kids. With that,
good evening, board members. I will briefly go through the systematic changes that we made as a school once we looked at the data together. So the first thing that we looked at was, of course, going from a multi-age to a looping school. That was decided as a community. Teachers had feedback, parents had feedback, and even students had their feedback as well. So altogether, we decided to switch from multi-age to a looping model. I can speak for myself in saying that last year I was a 5th and 6th grade multi-age teacher, and my 5th graders went to a different classroom and to a different teacher for their math instruction, where my 6th graders stayed with me, and I can say that changing to the looping model and having my students in the classroom with me for all subject levels has really allowed me to really see their progress and their growth, and has also allowed me a fantastic opportunity to reach out to the families if I ever see any intervention needs or any enrichment needs. So that would just be a personal side story for our looping model. We went from there, and we had a fantastic leadership team, went to the PLC conference. A few of them are here tonight, and we have their picture up there. From the PLC conference, they came back with a lot of great information for us to implement at our school, and one of them was to have a common master schedule. So what we've decided to do at Echo Canyon is we now have a built-in time for the grade levels that we call Jaggy Zone to support the Jaguars. And during that time, that's when services and pullouts take place. Also during that time, teachers are not teaching any new curriculum, so the students that are being pulled out are not missing any new curriculum. That also gives the classroom teacher a built-in time where we can focus on reteaching and enrichment as well of previous concepts that have been taught. Another great strand that came out of our PLC conference was also for us to have an actual data room. We held PLCs last year in our conference room, but that meant that every single grade level that came in for their PLC, the data was having to go up, come back down. We were using foam boards. It was a little bit informal. Whereas this year, we actually have a classroom with the data boards up. All teachers can see it across the board, and that is our common meeting place for our PLC now. And the last one was that we took a look at our attendance from last year, and we did realize that there was a need to make some improvements. So as a school, again, with parent feedback, community feedback, we use Meet the Teacher Night, we use parent-teacher conferences. We just really decided to reach out and talk about accountability and how important it is to have our students in the classroom. And our counselor also has been working full-time to keep accountability up at our school. And I can say that just for me personally, I have seen a huge improvement. I was missing anywhere from 5 to 6 kids at my classroom at some times, and I can tell you this year I am maybe missing 1 every month. So I've got a full house, and that's awesome. So those were our systematic changes.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Birdwell. This is really nice to be up front talking about Echo Canyon. It is a great place to be. I'm one of those teachers that, you know, if you give me the place to be with kids and do it well, I'm going to stick with you. And I'm going to retire in a year or two, and I'm going to hang my jersey at Echo Canyon because it's such a great place. But what I want to talk to you about tonight is the 25% of grade students will increase a level of AZ Merit Math and ELA. And we've done 4 really specific things at Echo Canyon to help us with this. The first one I want to talk to you about is a math initiative. We were lucky enough to be included in the Coronado Math Initiative. So people from Coronado Complex, thank you for including us because it has been fantastic for us. With the looping, there's only 2 teachers at each grade level. I mean, we got good brain power, but when you have a class or a room of 4th grade teachers talking about math, whoa, you walk away feeling like I can go and do that, or man, I really messed up here, but I know what to do now. And, you know, creating the CFAs and really knowing, you know, tearing apart those standards so you know them well, going back in and really helping us to prepare better for our daily lessons so our kids, everyone's learning the first time around, and if they need a second time, we know what to do. In classroom instructions, that is an area that Kat really took on to help us in a way that sometimes when you go to the drinking fountain, like you want to try something new and you go to the drinking fountain and it's like a fire hose from the fire truck and you're like, oh, I can't, you know, I can't take that much in. Kat, being the wise woman that she is, she said, okay, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it in a way in which you have a chance to learn about a strategy. It was staff-wide, so that we could come back and read about it, have a discussion. How are you going to put that into your classroom? How are you going to infuse it? And then once we did that, sharing all the celebrations and some of the difficulties. But those teachers, including myself, who had some difficulties, there were a group of people who are your community members who are saying, yeah, that happened to me, and this is what I did the second time, and it really worked out much better. So it's just a great way for the staff to move forward together, piece by piece. And we've done it through a book study. And the book study is Instruction That Works, Research-Based Strategies for Increasing Students' Achievement. And I believe that's beginning to happen at Echo Canyon. The next thing is thinking maps. So Kat comes in, she's a certified thinking map instructor. And so she said, so, you know, what about thinking maps? We're like, yeah, we've done that before. And she said, well, are you doing it now? And we're like, So last year we got started with thinking maps. And the cool thing is, I've been teaching for a while. I taught before I got to Scottsdale. And I was like, yeah, I know how to use thinking maps. And then, so Gloria, I haven't seen you use any in math. So I go over to Dusty. Dusty, how can I use thinking maps in math? But the thing that was happening was at our staff meetings, when we were discussing how things were used, when we had pictures of how teachers use it up in the classroom, it began to be that place where you're not fake it till you make it. It's there, and you're doing it. And your kids are just clamoring for all the structure that offers, particularly the kiddos that are ELL students. It really helps them to take an abstract idea and put it into concrete, which is where they survive. The abstract, that's really, really tough. Get it to a concrete where they can make that connection, you're good. And the last thing I want to talk about is vocabulary professional development. So this is a topic that's really true to my heart. We're a Title I school, and we have 49% of our students who are either on free or reduced lunch. That means we have a large percentage of students who are in poverty. Children coming from poverty families arrive at kindergarten hearing 30 million less words than their peers who come from middle class or upper middle class or top class, okay? 30 million words. Oh my gosh, that is a huge gap. So what do? We have these kids coming in here without that, the word acknowledgement, what words mean, the development of words. So what we decided to do is that was a question that we had to address at our school. So we began last year using our professional development time addressing this issue. We are using the book Making Words Real by Joanne Billingsley. And some of the vocabulary strategies you would see if you came to Echo Canyon is vocabulary magic using card sorts and trailers. For the students who are pre-readers or ELL populations, the modified vocabulary magic. Vocabulary in a bag, tagging words to objects, again, making that connection for kids. Emblematic and iconic gestures to build word and content knowledge. We know that what helps tackle vocabulary gaps is developing and implementing effective strategies to build academic language. That's what's going to shrink that gap, and that's what we're doing at Echo Canyon. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. I am talking about the last part of our strategy here, which is improving questioning at our campus. One of the things that I learned through the AMP training that we went through and we discussed at our PLC conference was the importance of questioning. If you look at Hattie's effect size, you will see that there are many of the effect size strategies that include questioning. For example, classroom discussions, cognitive task analysis, self-questioning and problem-solving teaching. All of that has a effect size greater than 1.5 times a school year. And all of that requires some kind of questioning. So we decided that questioning would be a very important thing to focus on. So we looked at the rigor relevance framework that involves A, B, C, and D quadrant questioning, and we decided to focus this year on making sure our students are using up to 4 of those types of questions in every lesson. We're starting with math, and we're moving to all content areas. For those of you who don't know, a quadrant C question is a question that is higher in rigor. Think Bloom's, thank you. Think Bloom's, those higher Bloom's words. And then quadrant D includes all those higher rigor questions, but it's also allowing students to access it with something that means something to them. So a personal connection to that kind of question. So I'm sorry it's not nearly as long as Miss Keenan's here. But yeah. So that's what we're focusing on. We've had a few different PDs. Our rigor PD earlier in the year, that was a half day. We spent getting the staff to know what the rigor and relevance framework was. A little bit later on, we did another PD that I led with another teacher, and we really focused on what is a quadrant C, quadrant D question. How can we start getting those implemented into our everyday teaching? How do we plan for that? What is it that we are doing to get the students talking and thinking like scholars? Okay.
And really the idea today with having teachers present is we wanted to highlight the professional development and just the increased understanding of our teachers and how that is really making a difference for our students. We were proud of our B. We're going to be prouder of our A when it comes, and we're working really, really hard. So with that, are there any questions?
Someone's calling in. Phone a friend.
They just saw you though. Like, good job, Mara.
Board Member Hartman.
Thank you. I don't have a question right now, Ms. Hughes, but I did want to just commend you and the educators that are here representing the rest of the educators tonight. I realize that many of the programs you're probably talking about, whether it's the book study or a professional development or AMP, takes personal time as well as, you know, the 9-to-5 job, right, that you have. And it's really going to, I can't wait to look at the AZ merit scores, but to tell you the truth, I don't need to see the scores. I just see it in your enthusiasm, and I know the kids are benefiting from it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Board Member Kirby.
Thank you. Somewhat echo what Board Member, Vice President Hartman just said. What came across to me was just the sincere enthusiasm. Marin, put it on silent. Those are job offers. But the truly sincere enthusiasm, and I could tell that each one of you were speaking from your heart. And I want to let you know as a board member how much I appreciate that, because what you're clearly doing is you're finding, using the professional development effectively to find the ways to meet the individual needs of the students in your community. And that's what we've been trying to do in the district. And I see it alive in Echo Canyon and all of you, and in your hearts.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. Go make me cry.
All right. Any
well,
other
thank
comments?
you.
Well, I'll just reiterate. Yes, these presentations are truly our favorite part of these board meetings, and to hear our teachers and our educators and our school leaders talking about their collaboration and their professional development and how they're growing and learning, and that's affecting the growing and learning of their students. It is why we're all here. So thank you all. Keep up the great work. Echo Canyon's got an exciting future.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good job, team.
Thank you, and at this time I'd like to call up Kristen Kinghorn and her staff members. I feel like I'm really short behind this thing and nobody can see us.
You are a little
I am a little bit.
Oh my, Desert Canyon, there we are. All right, we're all here. We're matching. We have our spirit. Good evening, Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. I'm Kristen Kinghorn, principal of the amazing Desert Canyon Elementary, and I am excited to share with you our continuous improvement plan tonight. I am honored to be joined by my wonderful Dean of Students, Mr. Eric Hedrick, our instructional leaders, Ms. Michaela Solway, Ms. Katie Honeycutt, Ms. Holly Hooley, and our new National Board Certified PE teacher, Ms. Julie Sparks. So I'm so happy that they're here to join us tonight. Tonight, the six of us are going to walk you through the goals we as a staff have set for our school and what we are doing to work towards them. Like our other schools have presented before, we also have 2 academic goals, one in ELA, one in math, a rigor goal, communication goal, as well as a culture goal. The way we have set our goals up is not only as a SMART goal, but we are looking at what we call Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle. This cycle allows us to progress monitor where we are at different points of the year, as well as our specific measurable interventions that we are doing in order to accomplish our goals. Our first academic goal in ELA states our 3rd through 5th grade highly proficient students will maintain highly proficient, and 25% of all other students will increase from one level to the next in ELA as measured by AZ Merit. When we looked at our data from 2017 AZ Merit assessments, as well as benchmark assessments and writing assessments that are done throughout the time of the year, we saw that writing was definitely an area of focus and an area of need. We believe if we increase our writing scores, students will move scoring levels in AZ Merit. As a leadership team, we sat down and looked at what each grade level is doing with writing and saw professional development is where we needed to start. And I'm going to turn it over to our 4th grade teacher, Ms. Holly Hooley, so she can explain what we are doing with our writing professional development.
Thank you, and good evening. We are starting our professional development with Mrs. Diane Murphy. She's come once, and she will be coming several more times during the year. She comes before school, and we meet with her. She does a training, and then throughout the day, she meets with each grade level and can answer specific questions or address any specific needs that we have at our grade levels. She has been instrumental through the years in helping me develop my writing program, which includes fully developed pieces, quick writes, journaling, and reflections. Weekly, my students write a reflection letter narrative, and they choose 3 subjects that they want to reflect on from the week. I give the students written feedback on their letters, and then they look at that feedback and then create 2 writing goals that they work on over a 3-week period. Each week, prior to beginning their new reflection letter, they have to go back, look at their goals, analyze my feedback, and score themselves. This self-evaluation encourages them to take ownership of their own learning. Journaling allows them the opportunity to just write freely. I don't read the journals. They pull them out whenever they want, or I may give them a prompt to write on. In the back of the journals, they're going to start, haven't started yet, but they're going to start making a list of wonderings based on their learning for a future research project that we'll try and do after AZ Merit. We use quick writes to help them practice their writing skills in a single sitting. These quick writes can be used as an assessment of student understanding of concepts when they're writing about their learning in math or science, social studies. With informative and expository writing, students have to have knowledge of whatever it is they're writing on first. So we practice note-taking and making sure that the notes that they're taking are in their own words. They gather their information from either read-alouds, articles, anchor texts, videos. Sometimes we have them do a combination to practice that skill for AZ Merit. After they take their notes, they collaborate with other students in the classroom to talk about what they've learned, share their information so that they have another way of gathering more information that they may have missed. They then use the thinking maps that we use to organize their information and begin, after that, their draft. During drafting, I have them stop after a mini lesson, and I'll say, now I want you to go back and revise what you've already written. Don't write any more. Go back and do some revisions on this skill that we just learned, and that becomes their practice for this skill. When the drafts are finished, I have a final conference with them, giving them suggestions in some cases to go back and revise again before they do a final copy, or some of the students, I actually have them do the revisions right there with me, depending on the individual students. So hopefully all of these activities will help our students who are already such good students academically make progress in their writing on the AZ Merit. Thank you.
So as pictured above, our data room reflects how students are doing on their ELA benchmark assessments. Teachers meet weekly in PLCs to review assessment data and plan specific targeted intervention to master all grade level ELA standards. Intervention takes place in a variety of ways. We currently offer pull-out reading intervention 3 times a week to students in all grades with the help of PTO dollars. We are so fortunate that we have a retired certified teacher who has come back to us to help our struggling students to reach proficiency. Teachers also work together in their PLCs to plan their intervention blocks. Teachers group students on specific skills that need to be mastered, and each teacher then takes a different group and targets individual skills. So that is our ELA goal. Next, we will talk math.
Thank you and good evening. As Mrs. Kinghorn mentioned previously, in ELA, our math goal might sound somewhat similar. We took a look at our data and we decided that we're going to aim to have all of our highly proficient students from last year in math maintain that proficiency level, and then we're going to jump up 25% of the rest of the students to the next level. We have a few ways that we're going to accomplish that. We offer accelerated math at Desert Canyon. We also have our students involved in Engage New York, and there we get the rigor, the critical thinking skills, and kids are really enjoying that program. Edgenuity or Path Blazer is how we reach our students who are performing lower. We want to provide some of those interventions to bump them up. And then STEM, again, is another level of rigor and allows our students to unpack math problems in a variety of ways. You can walk into a first grade classroom and see a problem of the day that students have created that's very STEM based. If you look at some of our benchmark data, you can see that our third grade team had a challenge at the beginning of the school year when we noticed that our initial benchmark revealed a 16%. To give you an example of the amazing work done by our staff, we sat down with them as a PLC and we really made sure that we were aligning our curriculum with our level of instruction and our assessments. And we're really proud of all their hard work because they were able to actually jump up to 64% on this most recent benchmark. Which we're really proud of. And again, we attribute that level of success to this combination of STEM as well as the critical thinking skills that come through Engage New York. We're really proud of that. Again, on STEM, if you look over on the left side there, we are very proud of this wonderful poster created by our third grade teacher, the talented Mrs. Honeycutt, who was able to take a look at the engineering and design process and actually model it after our mascot. And so for Cubbies, you can see that we've actually been able to use those words very colorfully to align kids to that process. And it's really fun to watch students use that to take apart a math problem and communicate with their table mates. McKeesa, we're really fortunate that we are able to work with McKeesa this year. And we've had a year-long professional development. And the great thing about this opportunity is it's not so much how can we teach STEM or what are some great STEM activities. It's that leadership piece of how can we go back and get our staff to move further along from an exploratory model to an immersion model, which is what we're targeting. And then more on this with Mrs. Honeycutt.
I'm just going to jump a little bit on what Eric already shared. I'm Kenny Honeycutt. I'm the third grade math teacher. I teach the accelerated math class. We are very fortunate that we have a great number of students that are achieving in math, but the problem is okay, how do we maintain those kids? So we have Accelerated math classes offered in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So we have actually 2 3rd grade accelerating math classes. So we're really working hard with those kids to make sure they maintain highly proficient and proficient. And we do a lot of work to look at their scores and how they're doing. And we have data binders in our K through 5th grade classrooms. And all the kids are looking at how are they performing, what are their goals, how can they improve, and how can they continue to get better. So.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Our next goal is on rigor. When we met as a team to develop our goals, we determined a path we all wanted our teams to be on. This included that each team would identify what we call priority standards. And these are standards that are necessary for every student, 100% of the students, to master to ensure success in the next grade level and beyond. Once that is done, teams work together to develop SMART goals on their priority standards, create common formative assessments, and create proficiency scales. This work has been supported by the district-level professional development that took place in November as grade levels from the Desert Mountain learning communities and other communities throughout the district met to identify those priority standards. We're happy to say we were right on track with where our other teams were. So currently in PLCs, teachers are spending time creating common formative assessments and utilizing our district online system of school cities so that we have instant feedback and can plan intervention and enrichment groups based on the results. In order to ensure rigorous lessons are being presented, instructional walkthroughs are happening on our campus. Here to talk about our instructional walkthroughs is one of our first grade teachers and instructional leader, Ms. Solway. Says she needs a step stool. Very nervous.
Good evening. As Kristen mentioned, we have been working collectively in PLCs to identify priority standards and create common formative assessments. To further help us meet our rigor goal, we have introduced instructional rounds into our community of learners at our school. We use instructional rounds as a way for all staff, K-5 including specials teachers, to observe, model, and apply best teaching practices. Our instructional leader team created a checklist to guide teachers as they observed in classrooms. We focused on engagement strategies and levels of learning, including depth of knowledge and Bloom's taxonomy. Each grade level, together with an instructional coach, had a chance to visit a classroom, observe, and then debrief. Specials teachers who had never been in classrooms before were enlightened. Following our instructional rounds, we surveyed our staff, and the results were overwhelmingly positive and also reflective. We now plan to use our results-based funding to bring in subs to increase our observation time from 30 minutes to half a day, and hopefully partner with a sister school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solway. And pictures above are pictures of our checklist to the right of what teachers were looking for when they did instructional rounds. So we were guiding them on what they should be looking for, and each teacher had a folder that went with them that talked about the levels of engagement, depth of knowledge, so they had keys as well, and we're writing down, so we had feedback to reflect when we debriefed. Finally, we want to ensure our students are aware of what they are learning, why they are learning, and how they will know they have learned it. Each staff member attended our December professional development on learning targets. We went through the background of why learning targets are important and how objectives posted on the board is one thing, but do students know what they are learning and why they are learning it. Teachers have now started incorporating a so why, as we call it, into their objective, as well as how students will know they have learned it. The picture above is one of our first grade teachers and her objectives on the left. And she has the objective of, I will make a table because it helps me to use place value. She has taken what students will be able to do at the end of the lesson, which was make a table, and related it to the bigger concept of the unit, which was place value. Next, we are working on how we are adding how students will know they have learned it, such as, you know you will have learned it when you create a table using tens and ones. So Mr. Hedrick is going to talk about our communication goal.
And this particular goal we value heavily because we want to increase our overall enrollment by 5% by the end of this school year here. Going into next year through May here. And you can see that we have quite a few ways to do that. We have a great monthly newsletter that we put out. We have a campus chat where family members are invited to come and take a quick look at Desert Canyon, but also hear from our PTO and some of the other essential pieces of our team. Mrs. Kinghorn and I give weekly tours every Wednesday, which we're really proud of, and we can have a chance to hear the questions of the day and see what families are interested in, and then also point them in the right direction as to what we can offer as a school. We have a lot of great night events, lots of community events. Again, we have a wonderful PTO that we're really proud of. You can see up there an example of our one of our Mandarin events that we call the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival, which is a great draw. One of the things that we noticed a few years ago was a slight dip in some of the enrollment that we had at Desert Canyon. And so we took a look at what we could do, and over the past 2 years, we realized that we are now retaining more of our students, our current students as well. And a lot of the things that we attribute that to are the growth from our early childhood programs, which some of them actually have a waiting list now, so we're really proud of that. I have some tour folders for you, so I'll give those to you at the very end. We also offer some Mandarin detailed information as well. We're very proud of the growth that our Mandarin program has received as we take our first year of kindergarten immersion and next year add a first year of first grade immersion. So we're really proud to see that growth. And in this particular folder, we offer parents an in-depth look at just the world of Mandarin, what it looks like in the workforce to understand what Mandarin can do for students. And with dual language, we always point to parents how this really increases their level of critical thinking. Obviously, their level of understanding Mandarin and their communication within that language, but the brain development is just astronomical, and we're really proud to have our parents talk about that. And also in this folder, we offered information just on the track of what it looks like from a kindergartner's experience through 5th grade and what that looks like at the very end after accessing 5 or 6 years of that language. I can present you with some of that tour information. We're also proud of our media coverage. We've had a few, as referenced by that one photo right there, on the left side. We've had some of the local media members come out and interview our Mandarin teachers and see what we can offer those little kindergartners. We're really proud of that. And we want to encourage you to join us on Twitter. You can take a look at teachers putting learning targets up in their classrooms. You can also see some of the events that we have on display. Our Cub of the Month, a lot of the fun things that we do to build community are often on display through our Twitter. So I want to encourage you to follow with that.
You're on there today as King George.
Yes. Finally, our last goal is on culture, and our last goal is to embrace what we are calling a culture of excellence through effective PLC collaboration. When we met our first week back, we brought together our entire staff, and we asked each team to talk about what are 3 to 4 norms that all students and staff need in order to be successful, because we're really embracing all means all. And I'm happy to say that all staff came up with the exact same norms, which means, hey, we're on the same page. So what we have created is what we're calling a culture of excellence. And that is really what we believe is going to help maximize our student achievement. And so we have 4 norms that we have at Desert Canyon, and they are be ready to learn, do your best, work together because helping others helps you, and be growth-minded. And the one thing that I'm bringing up Mrs. Sparks to talk about, the culture of excellence, it's not that it's happening in the classroom, it's happening all over campus. So I'm very excited for Mrs. Sparks to come up and talk about what that looks like in PE.
Hello, I'm Julie Sparks, and I teach physical education at Desert Canyon Elementary School. The art, music, and physical education specialists at DCES have nearly 100 combined years of experience. We've won numerous awards, model a growth mindset for our students, and believe that all means all. We set high standards and expect each student to be prepared to learn and work together. When we demonstrate these attributes, our students notice and aspire to as well. When there is a concert, or an art show, or a field day, we are all there because they are our students. We know what's going on in our school because we're involved. Renee Suderman, our music teacher. She does the morning announcements every day. She volunteers twice a week with our preschoolers so that they can have music class. She has an entire wall dedicated to academic vocabulary. She volunteers with a youth choir after school, and she was named a Scottsdale Charles Outstanding Educator in 2014-15. Shelley Allende, our art specialist, worked closely with our PTO and student body on There's Only One You Rock Garden, where each student painted one-of-a-kind rock to represent their own uniqueness. She teaches after-school art classes and also was nominated as a Charles Outstanding Educator this year. And even though we have to share our band and strings teachers, we still claim them. They're ours. We're proud of them. Albert Allende, our strings specialist, has shared the stage with world-class performers such as Yo-Yo Ma. He was invited to audition for the New York Philharmonic. He wrote and performed music for Wiley and the Hairy Man at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland this past summer. Molly May, our band specialist, graduate of SUSD, proud of that. She led our 5th graders to play middle school level music at the Desert Canyon Middle School band concert, even though she only sees those students twice a week. She's also co-chair of the Arizona Music Education Association's Middle School's All-State Band. Julie Sparks. I've been a Charles Outstanding Educator 3 times and won several awards from the American Heart Association for work with Jump Rope for Heart. Our students keep sportfolios. They set fitness goals in PE, monitor and adjust them. We use photographs and videos of our student athletes so that they can make self-assessments and provide peer feedback, because helping others helps them. From a kindergartner taking the hand of a special needs peer to help her hold a beanbag, to the 5th grader who asked me if I thought he could be in the Olympics for swimming one day. We celebrate and support each student, because all means all.
We are truly, truly proud of the culture we have at Desert Canyon Elementary. You can walk into any classroom and see how students promote and live the growth mindset. Students create goals in all areas of school, not only in academics, but as you heard, in fine arts, as well as personal goals. We celebrate our students' successes through various programs, such as our Cub of the Month, where we honor our students and even our staff members for their perseverance, hard work, positive attitude, and character. And thank you to President Perlerberg and Board Member Kravitz, who attended one of our Cub of the Month celebrations, where we were able to honor our facility coordinator, Mr. Watson, who is the prime example of what integrity and hard work means. We are extremely proud of our students, extremely proud of our staff and the hard work and the dedication that they have that are going to help move us forward. And I will take any questions or comments you have.
Thank you. All right. Vice President Harmon.
Thank you. First of all, outstanding presentation. And just 2 comments, really. It wasn't lost on me that you focus on rigor, communication, and culture, and I think that's a very holistic way to look at moving the school and the entire community forward. So thank you for kind of that overall view and approach. I also want to acknowledge what your presentation did for me, and I hope it did it for others as well, because kind of as a board, we talk about these high level, they sometimes sound like scary things when we talk about policy and strategy. But what I see you all doing is literally operationalizing it. And what I mean by that is we talk about hiring great leadership. It starts there. Then attracting and retaining the best talent, our educators, it's right there. And then setting specific goals. Each of you articulated clearly the goal to retain high proficiency and 25% increase for the levels below it. So you're very clear on what your goals are. And then we talk about things like adding additional professional development days and making sure those are a combination of district and site driven. And here you are executing brilliantly on what that means and how to use those to enhance yourselves, you know, from just a professional development standpoint, as well as obviously how it benefits the students. And then last but not least, us getting out of the way so that you can do what you need to do. But I really just want to underscore that, because this doesn't happen overnight, but it's happening. And it's because of putting all those things in place with your input that's getting us in that place. So thank you so much for so clearly articulating what your strategy and goals are. It's just whatever we can do to support you, we want to do more of it. So thank you.
If I might, and I would be remiss as a former English teacher if I didn't say this, thank you for teaching the true process of writing at such a young age, because that really is a life skill to go with these students for the rest of their life. So what you are doing is changing their lives. And I was so excited to hear you actually articulate that process wonderfully. So thank you so much. And that was not to say that the rest wasn't great. I just, as a former English teacher, touched my heart. Thank you.
Board Member Hartman. Kirby.
Thank you. You know, we always talk about how Scottsdale Unified is a very diverse district, and I think that the two presentations tonight couldn't have been a better representation of the challenges that brings to leadership. And both presentations tonight punctuated the importance of allowing each school and encouraging each school to define what their priorities need to be to meet the needs of their communities. And I am so grateful for all of your work and Echo Canyon's work. You know, board member, did it again. Vice President Hartman talked about how you guys did a good job of demonstrating how you're operationalizing the strategy. And I wrote down a specific example because I felt that too. You did a great job of articulating how your team is using the benchmark testing to drive instruction to ensure that your students continue to academically grow. Gone are the days of testing just for the sake of testing. Right. So thank you. And finally, the culture of excellence. I know it's not just going to be another tagline at Desert Canyon. It's you're making it come alive. So thanks.
You are all making it come alive. Yes, thank you for all the incredible work.
I'll let Eric pass out his. All right. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, I'm going to introduce middle school this evening for us. I know I took you by surprise there, didn't I? Yes. I have the privilege of inviting up our Mojave Middle School staff members. Come on up. And I also have the privilege of doing the introduction of their principal. So with us this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chris Asmussen and his team.
Thank you, Dr. Sitton. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, Mrs. Como, cabinet, community. My name is Chris Osmus, and I'm the proud principal of Mojave Middle School. And let me introduce my team that came up with me. First, Molly Simpson is our co-president for PTO. We have with us Vicki White, who is one of our teacher instructional leaders as well as a social studies teacher. We have Ann Waltz, who is one of our Title I specialists working in the area of reading and writing, helping students with their vocabulary, and then also an 8th grade honors language arts teacher. And Rachel D'Souza, who is our Title I specialist, but the most appropriate title is math guru. She is the person that really keeps our math team together, making sure that all of our students are learning at high levels, particularly in the area of mathematics. All right. At Mojave, we've spent quite a bit of time Matter of fact, back in 2015, 2016, we began the conversation about culture. And our presentation tonight is going to really talk about how culture drives into academics and how culture really is the driving force behind our school. Years ago, 2 years ago, we began talking as a community, as site council, teachers, parents, community members, about what is it that we value at Mojave Middle School and what is important to our students. Dealing with the middle level learner, not only do we have to focus in on academics, but social, emotional, and physical needs are so important, and you can't get to academics unless you have social, emotional, and physical taken care of. We want to make sure that our kids love school, get in the door, and so sparking intellectual curiosity is very important to us. We do that through a robust fine arts department, band, strings, choir, having opportunities for students to perform, academic clubs such as Robotics Future Cities, having opportunities for kids to get connected to school in those ways through clubs, after school tutoring, before school tutoring, during lunchtime tutoring, making sure that students have opportunities to learn at all times. We have a very robust sports program, so it might be that it's the tuba that gets the student in the door. It might be softball that gets the student in the door, but we focus on these 5 things to get to the area of academics. All right, culture starts with our staff. Right here in the shadow of Camelback Mountain is our faculty, all dressed in their alma mater wear. We have periodic days throughout the school year where we are dressed in the college that we attended, because it's the conversation that might start about ASU basketball or Wisconsin football that leads to, where are you going to college? What are your hopes and dreams and aspirations? Setting that culture that all students have the opportunity and the ability to attend college and university should they choose that. It's about building relationships with kids. We often talk about rigor, relevance, and relationships, but we have it backwards. We have to talk about building relationships with our kids, making sure that teaching is relevant, and then we can push as much rigor as we want. But we've got to make connections with boys and girls in the hallways, having conversations and meeting them at their level. Many of our teachers are coaches after school. Many of our teachers sponsor the clubs. Many of our teachers are involved in tutoring. After school tutoring has 2 teachers that are there certified to help in the area of mathematics and language arts. So by having teachers seeing kids outside of their classroom, seeing them in other areas of our building, we can build those relationships. We can then make our lesson plans relevant to the lives of our kids, and then, once again, push the rigor. College bound is really beginning with the end in mind. That's what we talk about often at Mojave. Once our faculty has that culture, it then partners with our students and our families. In the center there, Mojave is a middle school PBIS gold medal winner through BETC, the, I gotta look it up, hold on, Behavior, Education, and Technology Conference, sponsored by PBIS Arizona Department of Education, and then also some vendors. We've got our kids bought into this culture that we practice respect, we accept responsibility, we work together, and safety matters. What was put together years ago has now continued to grow organically with our faculty, our staff, our assistant principal, and now is creating that culture within our kids. As we transition off to the left, we have a class on our campus that we call Habits of Study, because it means a lot more to our kids and our families and our moms and dads when we talk about Habits of Study. It is our college and career readiness course. We have 6 classrooms of students, over 160 students that are learning how to take and study from their Cornell notes. They are learning how to support their claims with evidence and reasoning. They are learning to stay organized, and they learn to ask for help when they need it. They learn to speak publicly and give presentations, and all those things that go into scholarly behavior, a specific class to that. And through our partnership with Comerica Bank, we've been able to, this year we went up to NAU. We were able to tour their campus, see college life, spark that intellectual curiosity that is keeping the kids in the door and wanting to learn and do more with their academics. All right. The center picture up top is where we've reached out to moms and dads, and we are offering parenting classes on our campus on how to work with teenagers. Teenagers can be tough. And so we've offered classes during the day. We have another round of parenting classes that are going to be offered in the evening to partner with moms and dads. And speaking about partnering with moms and dads, our PTO has grown and expanded over the last years to the point that we now are setting tables for 20, 25 people to come to those meetings and to partner with our school and to help us out. To speak more about PTO is Molly Simpson, our co-president with PTO.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. I'm a proud member of the Mojave PTO. The parent and student community has come together with teachers, faculty at the school to create opportunities that strengthen our school community as a whole and further promote a culture of scholarship through supporting our school teachers and the students at Mojave. Community building events such as our annual talent show. I think there might have been a picture for this.
Go ahead, hit the button.
All right. Which button do I hit?
The
right arrow. All right. Boom.
Middle center.
All right, our talent show, which is pictured here, we had standing room only. It was such a fun evening. We had all of our talented Mojave students performing. It showcased not only our students at the school, but also talented students from one of our feeder elementary schools' 5th grade choir. This family-friendly event was enjoyed by both our middle school and elementary school communities, and it provided a real-life opportunity for the younger kids to experience an enriching event on our campus. For some of those students, it was the first time that they'd ever been to a middle school campus, so it was really neat, and they were very excited. Mojave Talent Show participants received T-shirts to commemorate their achievement in the show. The Mojave PTO then visited the elementary choir students on their campus to recognize 5th grade choir participants on their morning announcements, presenting them with Mojave T-shirts as well. This is just one example of the fun community building events PTO supports. On the other side of this coin is PTO's support of scholarship at Mojave. This year, PTO has purchased novels for our ELA program, provided funding for reeds and instrument repair to our band program, provided funding for sectional coaches to our strings program, as well as funding for choir accompanists, funds for a total of 3 band, strings, and choir Disneyland performance scholarship field trips, funding supporting STEM and robotics, and more. PTO supported teacher trainings through purchase of sub-days, as well as the purchase of vocabulary magic, which we're very excited about, and other supplementals. Mojave PTO is also proud to support a scholarship banquet this spring, where students making honor roll or principals list for 3 subsequent quarters will be recognized. Through collaboration with Mojave families, cooperation with other schools in our complex, and the dedication of the Mojave teachers and staff, the awesome volunteer community that is the Mojave PTO are grateful to be a part of the culture of scholarship, as well as creating opportunities to make the middle school experience fun and engaging. Thanks.
The other pictures that are listed here, off to the left, we have the robotics competition that took place at Mojave. We had 30 teams that were competing, many out of Scottsdale Unified. We had other charter schools, private schools there as well that were on our campus seeing what we do. And what they saw is they saw high school students mentoring and running that entire event. It wasn't Mr. Tavelli that was totally involved, but what it was Mr. Tavelli supporting high school students who were supporting middle school students. So a mentoring. Mojave, we were there. We wanted to get to state as well. We didn't get there as competitors. We got there as mentors to the Kiva team. And so it's building that mentorship from high school to middle and middle to elementary. And off to the right, what we see is that is infectious. That concept of mentoring. So now our Pom and Cheer team is inviting the little ones in from the elementary school to get connected to middle school by being involved in Pom and Cheer camps held on our campus, mentored by middle school students. Like my colleagues, like my sister schools, we too have academic goals where 90% of our students will stay up if they were highly performing. Last year, we want 90% of those students, we want 100% of our students. highly performing this coming year. And we have a goal to move up 20% of our students in English and language arts, similar to our sister schools. We're doing that by building a culture of collaboration with our teachers. Again, you've heard my colleagues speak about professional learning communities. We too have developed that culture within our campus. I'm going to ask Vicki White to come up and talk a little bit about our professional learning communities at Mojave.
Good evening. As Mr. Osmussen said, we really believe in building a culture where we all work together, and part of that has to do with the staff working together as well, with the students in mind and their growth and their progress and their social emotional well-being as well. So about 2 years ago, we started a PLC process tentatively, but with determination, and we started just by meeting and talking about what could we do as PLCs, what are some of our goals, what do we want to do. PLC standing for Professional Learning Community, where we're not only talking about student learning, but we're talking about our own learning as well as teachers. So our work in PLCs has developed over the last several years to become more focused. And we started out with just thinking about how do students have to, what do they have to know to progress from 6th grade to 7th grade to 8th grade. And we started by looking at benchmark data and trying to identify students that needed interventions or support, as well as maybe some enrichment types of activities. The following year, which was last year, we decided that we were going to all choose at each content level, and I'm a social studies teacher, so we chose 12 core or anchor objectives, 3 per quarter, for each grade level, and we worked within that articulated system to look at those 12 at 6th grade, 12 at 7th grade, and 12 at 8th grade, so that we could make sure that they were flowing into each grade level with what they needed to be successful at that level. And our main focus really was, what do we want students to know at each grade level so that we can help them get there. We started this year with the idea of culture again, and thinking that students that are in our classrooms are definitely our kids, but all students at Mojave are our kids. And so we want to work with not only our students that we see one-on-one, but we want to make sure we can also reach out and help students in other classrooms that we may not see on a daily basis. So we try to also not only work within content areas, but we also integrate with other content. And in social studies, we have a particular ability to do that because we do a lot of reading, a lot of writing. So we're looking at how can we help our language arts teachers with getting their students better at reading informational text. How can we help our math teachers by, exposing kids to other ways to use math besides sitting in a math class and using a calculator? And so we started with, we got a common plan period for every content area, which was awesome. And so once a week we all meet in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers in our common plan, and we talk about what have we done, where are we going, how are we on those core objectives that we've looked at, what do we need to do to make sure we've got some formative assessments put together to test those kids and then enrich them or intervene if we need to. And really with the concept of, how do we know that they're learning the objectives we've chosen, and what do we do if they've got them already? How do we keep them engaged, and how do we keep them wanting to come back? And what do we do with the children that actually need a little bit more support? So we're looking at things like classroom walkthroughs where we can see other content area teachers at work at different grade levels and looking at the objectives that they've set in their classrooms and how they're meeting them, and actually talking to the students at that time and say, do you know what you're learning and what are you working on, and those kinds of things. We've done flexible grouping for differentiation, which I know one of my colleagues is going to talk about here, where the social studies teachers are excited. We've started working with database questions and working with the new content curriculum that we put together at the district level with the standards all set up for every section, and so we're working on that, and also, as I said, with the ELA teachers, integrating ELA and social studies together. And then in closing, it's just been kind of an organic process, as Mr. Osmussen said, where we've been developing and we talk to each other, and if something doesn't work, we fix it, and if something's working, we try to improve upon it, and we try to do that because we want our students to feel comfortable and happy to be at school and want to learn more. Thank you.
The other pictures that are here, as Vicki was talking about in those professional learning communities, center is just a conversation about data and taking a look at how the students did on the benchmarks. But top right, we see Dr. Treat visiting our social studies PLC to really plant the seed and have conversations about document-based questioning and how can we live as historians, as students, get students into the act of social studies, as Mrs. White was talking about, and incorporating reading, writing, speaking, and listening into those content areas. Below that is a picture of Mr. Williamson, who's now out in our community talking with moms and dads about what they can begin to see inside of the social studies classroom, and to have that community, the culture, that it's not just inside the classroom, it's inside and outside of the classroom that builds the Mojave, I guess the Mojave way of going about proctoring instruction. As Mrs. White talked about, our professional learning communities, we're learning as we go. And so part of that is not only looking at benchmark data, but also looking at common formative assessments inside of the classroom, where two teachers that may teach the same subject area proctor the same assessment, short assessment, to see what students know and are able to do. Then what we do at Mojave is we break into what we see here, the DI days, our differentiated instruction days, that I'm going to ask Rachel to talk about how we flexibly group students at an entire grade level to meet the needs of the students that are getting it, those that are kind of getting it, and those that haven't gotten it yet. So, Ms. D'Souza.
Good evening. I'm Rachel D'Souza. My main focus as Title I instructional specialist is focused in the math department at Mojave. And one of the ways I provide support and intervention is through our Math for Success classes. And what I do is, on a daily basis, provide differentiated instruction with those teachers. And we're also lucky enough in our 8th grade classroom to have a community volunteer, which makes an even smaller focused group within 3 teachers getting that intervention that they need, or maybe it's the grade level content that they need a little bit more focus with. As per our common formative assessments and designing those, we've done it in a variety of ways. We've used benchmark data. We've looked at the outcome of our benchmark data, whether it be the content specific or our standards, or even the question format that our students maybe are not performing so well on, and use that as a common formative to help drive our instruction, our differentiated instruction days. We've used teacher-designed, standard-based assessments. We've used teacher observation, School City. We've used the document camera to help quickly populate that information into School City so we can analyze that data and look at our students and see what they need and help drive our instruction, not only on a daily basis, but these special differentiated instruction days that we've been talking about, where we're splitting our kids up and giving them the level of rigor that they need, whether it be intervention and remediation, that's the level of which they need the instruction, or maybe we're extending and deepening their knowledge and providing them with a little bit more mathematical discourse, or talking about social studies and language arts, giving them what they need. If it's enrichment, providing them with enrichment and extending their knowledge and challenging them. We come back, we debrief, we talk about what the students learned, if we're progressing, what went well, what did not go well. And we continue to see if we have students that need that spiraled instruction, if it needs to be continued with the intervention that's going to be provided. How do we do that? How do we reassess for mastery and continue to go? With looking at what our students need and looking at what we're doing well. We still are in process of improving, and I think from what I've seen in the last 2 years, it's been a wonderful improvement in just a year and a half. Thank you.
The last thing that we have listed here is our targeted 10. In addition to looking at the data through School City, I asked each faculty member to take 10 kids underneath their wing, to really follow those students and follow their progress, because what's happening inside the classroom, it means something to somebody. And what does it mean for that one specific child? I asked the teachers to not double up on kids. So if we have 40 teachers on campus, we have a sample size of 400 kids that we're looking at on how is the instruction impacting that one student. To speak to that is Ann Waltz.
Good evening. As Mr. Asmussen referred earlier about the 3 R's, rigor, relevance, and relationship, the targeted 10 speaks to the relationship piece, which then leads to relevance and then to increased rigor. So as he said, he asked all of us to choose 10 students, so we have the pulse of 400 students on our campus. We found this a great way to support student success as teams use this data to work with kids. Of my own 10 students, 8 have moved a proficiency category from benchmark 1 to benchmark 2. The other 2 stayed in their category but moved up. We've seen students taking ownership, understanding the relevance of these assessments, and working with their mentor teacher to garner the tools needed for individual success. We're able to use this as another tool to evaluate our teaching, to see what teaching practices are successful, what kids are learning. And students have been very receptive to the feedback and are proud of their achievements. So we've taken data, sat with students and looked at, the numbers, what do they mean? You're 2 questions away. Let's look at what it means for, those high stakes tests. We'll be taking these your whole life. This is awesome practice. I had one student who shared her extreme test anxiety as evidenced by her unusually low assessment scores versus her classroom performance. And with working with her, scaffolding, not just her, but as a class, she increased 135% from benchmark 1 to benchmark 2. So as Mr. Osman has led us, I think having that personal connection with those kids, that relevance of what they're doing, and like I said, taking ownership. And we've experienced these type of trends school-wide and found that data is not only valuable to drive instruction, but as a means to empower our students.
So when it all comes together, what we have is we have kids that will rush to school on a Saturday morning to hop on a bus to go to Prescott to march in a parade. So I wanted to share this. There's a lot of things that we could have shared. We could have continued to share robotics, future cities, but we know that these kids are committed to school. We know that these kids will perform inside the classroom because you don't get to participate unless you're carrying the grades. We are student performers. We are student athletes. We represent our school. And so this is kind of like the prequel to the Parada. You'll get to see them here, but next coming month, in addition to our band marching, Palm and Cheer is going to be out there with them as well. What? Ah! I lost it. Hold on. Everybody relax. There we go. Just you're reliving this presentation. Hold, please. I know, I was pushing buttons too many times. Here we go. lot with a camera at the end. And for the rest of the community, Mojave is blessed to be sitting right next door to our district office. And I thought it'd be fun for Dr. Birdwell to see that, because my band practiced in the parking lot, and they were under strict orders for me to turn and to blast the district office, so you got to see the good work that our kids did. What questions do you have for Mojave?
I'm going to jump in before the board. First of all, we enjoy that music.
Good.
Anytime. But I made a couple notes, and I just want to say, again, wonderful leadership, empowering teachers to create that creative response to the diversity within this campus and the needs, over and over, meeting the needs, differentiating for the learners. That Target 10, again, touching lives. Thank you so much for your leadership on both the teachers and the administration and what you're doing. Fantastic job.
Our pleasure.
Vice President Hartman.
I'll just keep it a couple brief comments, but I sit here thinking, oh, this next presentation can't be good as the last two, and it's equal to, and they're all outstanding. A couple of things that I just wanted to call out that I thought are really, really worthy is, what's interesting is, all of my kind of transformation and change management consulting, there's a saying that we love, which is culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the fact that you're focusing on culture, because that really is the differentiator in creating the conditions for success for a sustainable outcomes. So the fact that you're focused on culture and relationship and relevance and then rigor, it really, those are the seeds for long-term success. So I see the trajectory of your long-term plan and the passion and the commitment behind it. It's just wonderful. And I also just wanted to call out to, it's Molly Wright, Molly Simpson, PTO president, because it really does take the full community, and the educators and leadership are amazing. But thank you for your leadership and commitment and bringing that parent community along to support this journey.
Board Member Kirby.
Thank you. I just wanted to, each of our schools have a unique personality, and I've said that for a very long time. And unfortunately, for years in the past, our middle schools kind of had the reputation of being the lost years, and you just got through middle school, And I was so energized tonight by your presentation that that's not the case at Mojave. The personal interest that the adults are taking with the individual students on your campus is exactly what our community has been craving from our middle schools. So please continue that. I can't emphasize enough how that will strengthen your culture and your community. I love the idea, and you hit on it, where you're talking to moms and dads about what you're doing in the classroom. And yes, these presentations are coming to the boardroom, and we're hearing from every school. But if you have opportunities as principals and as leaders to share with your own communities, I don't know if it's a PTO meeting or the right forum, of these initiatives that you have in place, that's what will start the soccer field talk and the fence talk, and that word will start to get out. And it won't be that all of SUSD is doing the same thing. It will be you're all doing what you need to do to meet the needs of your communities. And I've been hitting that tonight hard, but it's because I'm seeing it in every single presentation, and I've seen it in the presentations leading up to tonight as well. So thank you for your efforts, thank you for your leadership and your hard work, because I know it's hard work, and I know, we're very grateful.
Yeah. Board Member Beckham.
Thank you for the presentation and your leadership. I really want to jump in here and say something, but I have to say I'm not going to say it as well as the rest of the board members here. So I will just keep it short. What I really noticed was that you decided to pick probably the two most difficult tasks, and that is building the relationship with the students and the relevance. Because what we are hearing from students is, and whether it tends to happen in middle school and high school, I don't learn anything relevant and no one knows me and doesn't care. And to think that and that's what takes that extra time. So I just really want to thank you for that. And I know all of our educators are doing it, but as Board Member Kirby said, to have it highlighted and to be able to go out into our communities and show the evidence of that is just really exciting. So thank you.
Board Member Kravitz.
Let's try and get out of here before 9 o'clock. So I don't want to be repetitive, but I just want to agree with what my colleagues have said. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here at 6:45 at night on a Tuesday. And thank you very much for your great presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you all for your hard work. Terrific. You bet. High school.
President Perleberg, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell. Okay, we saved the best for last. Okay, sorry. I just had to say that.
Pressure.
This evening you get to hear from our terrific, amazing Saguaro High School principal and team. Thank you, Anne, for presenting.
Yeah, pressure.
All right. Good evening, Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell, and Sandra. Thank you so much for having Saguaro here tonight to give you a quick overview of the professional development that has been occurring at Saguaro High School. As Dr. Johnson said, I am the proud principal of Saguaro High School. I am humbled and honored to be able to work with our staff and students every single day. I like to say that Saguaro High School is what I like to call the 4 A's: academics, arts, athletics, and atmosphere. And that is all contributed 100% to our outstanding staff and our students. Tonight, with us, I would like to thank a few individuals that are here. Our instructional leader for science is Miss Mall, so thank you for being here tonight, Miss Mall. Our instructional leader for world language is Miss Harmon. Thank you for being here tonight. Our instructional leader for social studies is Mr. Kroos. Thank you for being here tonight. And I do know my 3 assistant principals are here as well. If I could have Mr. Luschner, our athletic director assistant principal. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Milligan, our ed services assistant principal. And Miss Tyndall, our student activities assistant principal. Thank you all for being here tonight. As you did hear from Mr. Asmussen in the same learning community, you're going to hear some very similar verbiage. Any decision that we make at Saguaro High School as educators, we always think back to our community commitment. The Saguaro community commitment will increase collective capacity by providing a focused vision of the community commitment to a culture of respect of educational integrity. For relationships, we will uphold a culture of respectful behavior. Rigor, we will increase student opportunity for exposure to rigorous content through collaborative work. Relevance, we will ensure horizontal and vertical articulation. This year, our CIP goals for our school are our 9th and 10th grade. After analyzing our data, we will be focusing on scoring proficiently on the Arizona Merit with an increase of 8% in both of those grade levels in both math and English language arts. For communications, we will be focusing on our staff regularly engaging in meaningful communication regarding student learning and campus updates. And for our climate and our culture, Saguaro High School staff will meet the needs of individual learners by promoting a safe and supportive learning environment. Faculty and staff and teachers will promote PBIS strategies. How are we going to do all that? We are going to do all that as a team, which is what we are at Saguaro High School, our administrative team, our teaching, instructional learning leading team, and then as well as our staff. Climate and culture. That's the atmosphere that I believe that we are very well known for. From day one, when our new 9th graders arrive, you will see down here, We greet them. Every single staff member greets all of our new incoming student body for that class to give them that great warm welcome. It is amazing to see, as you can see the students' faces. That young man just said, "We made it to high school." But this is a tradition that Saguaro High School has that I have not seen anywhere else, and it's very impactful to see those new 9th graders coming through and seeing every single teacher there high-fiving them and clapping for them and welcoming them to Saguaro High School. Saguaro High School is a PBIS school, Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. We are CATS at Saguaro High School, which we will focus on again this year. We are capable, appropriate, trustworthy, and supportive. No matter where you are on our campus, it is the same. So we are CATS at Saguaro High School, and we are very proud of that. Kind of nice to be able to present at the semester break. We were able to, at our last PD, survey our teachers and see exactly what professional developments that they are interested in for meeting our students' needs in the second semester. You will see we will be working with Vicki Anderson and Amy Downs. We have a high interest in some Google Classroom professional development. We are also very encouraged that all of our teachers are interested in the classroom rigor, and then as well document-based inquiry, which is a PD that we have had previously that our teachers are now asking for an intermediate PD change. So for our semester 2, we will be doing some of our trainings for our PDs will be at that intermediate level, and then some will be more at that beginning level to meet the needs of our teachers. We started this year when teachers return, we celebrated the school year. So we had the red carpet, we had the step and repeat, and we really celebrated seeing everybody from the summer. We started with, as you can see, our Oprah and a laptop for you. What we did with our training for our teachers is our instructional leaders embedded all of those trainings and all those things that we needed to do with engagement strategies for our teachers. But it was really a great time to see everybody and really celebrate coming back and celebrating the school year. Again, we started our year off this year with a refresher on PLCs, and then we followed that up later. Our assistant principal team had another PD just to focus a little bit more about that data collection and analyzation. The trainings that we have had, and again, the document-based inquiry that we will be offering that intermediate for semester 2. SMART goals we focused on again this year, and really specifically making sure in the areas of 9th and 10th grade Arizona merit improvement. Also, the document-based inquiry is one that the Saguaro staff is very interested in. That was a hit for our teachers. One of the things that we did for one of our PDs, thank you to our outstanding instructional leadership team, is we really looked at, and thank you to Ms. Tendall for activities, she played a large part in this, is we looked at academic intervention strategies for our students that were needing possibly some other assistance to reach their personal best. We then brainstormed those strategies and put in best practices for our students. As well, we had our vertical and horizontal articulation. We started in the morning with our outstanding Mojave Middle School teachers coming over, and then in the afternoon, our high schools all met based upon their content area. At this time, I would love to thank my instructional leadership team. They have put together our data lounge at Saguaro High School. We have gotten all of that data out of the book, and we have it to where everybody can utilize it whenever they need. So I would really like to thank my instructional leadership team for their hard work getting our data lounge ready. We have a refrigerator, microwave, plug-in for your iPad, a couch, tables, chairs, anything that you would need for you to go in, do some great PLC work, be able to see, we have some stagnant walls and some working walls, and I'll go ahead and stop and let you guys go ahead and speak to that. But I just want to thank them so much. All right, so it sounds like Miss Mall has volunteered to come up and talk about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. A, and good evening. I don't have much to follow up on that because she kind of stole half my script here. Basically, if you do look at the pictures up there, we have it color-coded by a couple of things. We wanted a starting point of what to do with our data, since data rooms are new, or lounges are new to high schools, at least in Scottsdale Unified. So if you look at our pictures, each card is based on AZ merit data from the previous school year. And then what we've done is these pictures are Q1 benchmarks. So each individual student has their own card. So every one of our 1,300 kids has a card. And the pictures here are we put them based then on the colors on the wall based on their Q1 benchmark scores. So for ELA and math. If you do see there are some gray cards in there, that's students that were not present last year and did not take the AZ merit, and therefore once they take the AZ merit, we'll change their colors to more reflect their cards or their scores. And we did this so that when we're far away, like now, we can see different trends, outliers and patterns where students have improved or even have regressed, and maybe we need to fix that or look closer at that. And then if we look closer, we can review more specific information on an individual student. Look at the ones that are very borderline. Maybe there's one or two things that we can do right away. If I go up to that wall and go, wait, I have Johnny. Why is Johnny doing that? He's much better than that. Why is his score low? I can grab that and have maybe a conversation with Johnny or figure out what's wrong. And I can say Johnny because it's my husband. So basically, it gives us an at-a-glance look at what we're doing. Our next schedule, actually, if you were to come look at our data lounge now, our math is completely empty because all the math teachers have taken those cards and they're writing the Q2 benchmarks on them as we speak. And our deadline for that is next week, where they're then going to replace the cards for the second benchmark, and we've got on the cards themselves or each quarter, so we can see either the progression or regression of the student scores. In our data lounge, we also have DNF scores that we're going to be putting up, absences, and trying to correlate all the data and see what best we can help our Saguaro's fantastic students. So I will turn it back over to Ms. A.
Thank you, Ms. Small. All right, as I said, Saguaro High School is what I call the 4A's: academics, arts, athletics, and atmosphere. We are very proud of our community. I am humbled and honored to be part of that family, and I just want to thank our community for everything that they do to make our school as outstanding that it is. At this time, if you have any questions, we would love to answer them.
Vice President Hartman.
I'll just say that was catastic.
How long have you been sitting on that one?
Oh, it's been a while. Just really great job, but really appreciate it. Thank you.
It is so interesting. I can't wait to come visit and talk to you about the data room, because it is one of the most difficult challenges for secondary to actually create that data room and track and look at, well, there's so much variety. Which piece are we actually going to look at? Which group? Are we just going to look at freshmen? Are we going to look at sophomores? So I really commend you for taking that next bold step and creating a lounge of which teachers can kind of digest that data and not feel like it's a threatening moment, but to use that to drive conversations about learning. So big initial step. Look forward to sitting in there and just listening to the cat chat.
All right. Board Member Kirby.
Great presentation. I'd like to echo Dr. Birdwell's comments. You know, I've been out and I've toured the middle schools, and the elementaries. I haven't hit the high schools yet. I'm coming soon, but I've processed how in the world are they going to do a data room, even at the middle schools, not to mention the high schools. And here you go. You pulled it off. You said, you know, you've shown it can be done. And maybe it is that first bold step to take a little bit, right? Because in high school, there's a whole lot of stuff you could look at. But you just do it increments at a time. And you bite off a little bit. It's not so scary. And then maybe the next year, you bite off a little bit more. And that's how we grow. So great work. I'm very anxious to come out and visit. I will be there soon. So thank you for your presentations.
Thank you. I may be a little biased, but yes, I find Saguaro to be a wonderful environment and school, and it's hard to find a better place to have your children learn and grow. So I do love it. So that being said, thank you all for your incredible hard work at Saguaro. I just want to summarize quickly, because yes, it is getting later, and your educators, you got to go home and get to bed. But to hear tonight's and our previous continuous improvement plans, but here especially tonight, it just seemed to drive home the concepts of that meaningful PLCs that is site-driven and teacher-driven on here's what we need to know, or here's where I'm needing help. To talk about meaningful differentiation in learning, where we really are identifying each individual student, what they know, what they don't know, and what do we do about it. And also, I mean, just to talk about engaged learning going on in our community understanding why we're doing what we're doing, and using that data assessment and shifting that fear of testing into a tool that we use for our students to improve instruction. All of these things that we heard tonight in each and every presentation, I think just drives home the direction we see this district heading. And I've sat long enough on this board to know we were not always going in this direction, and to feel that this shift in direction is living and breathing on our campuses is incredibly powerful, I think, to all of us tonight. So thank you all to all our presentations and all the hard work going on behind these presentations. Thank you so much. Move us on then to our agenda item 6B, update presentation on continued demographic changes.
Governing Board, and I'm asking that we table this to the next board meeting. Simply, I was out Thursday, Friday with the flu, and this is my presentation. So.
All right. I will make a motion that we table item 6B for our next board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Kravitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We will move on now to our new order. Item 7, public comments. Sandra, do I have all the cards this evening? All right. Thank you. In conformance with open meeting laws, the governing board may not discuss or take action tonight on any matters raised during public comments that are not on the agenda. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism, ask staff to review the matter, or ask that it be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, each speaker will have 3 minutes. Vice President Hartman will indicate the time with a 30-second warning. We do ask that each speaker introduce themselves for clarity in the record. Our first request for comment is Chris Martin.
Good evening, President Perleberg, board members, Dr. Birdwell, and Ms. Como. I'm reading from an email I sent, or excuse me, that Dr. Birdwell sent back on Monday, July 31st. It was to all SUSD employees regarding communications network. The first part began with the new governing board policy manual and some details there. And then it went further to explain the new process with our site level district-wide communication, saying we want to hear your voice. Principals will be selecting individuals, both certified and classified, to join parent representatives to serve as key members of the new communication network. I am part of that. In the past it was called liaison. I can recall 2 meetings that have been held this year, even though it's stated in the email by Dr. Birdwell that it would be monthly and those meetings would be video recorded for all employees to view. So I gave it time thinking, okay, you know, we're all busy and we have many responsibilities. So I emailed the board Saturday, December 16th to Dr. Birdwell and all board members asking where do I find the video recordings, to which you referred to your email. How many monthly meetings have been held? As I said, I'm aware of 2. I was there during the last meeting and only saw Ms. Redner typing in minutes shown on the smart board, And is there a way to get a copy of those? If we're talking about communications and how it's supposed to be shared with employees, I want to know, have they been shared, how they've been shared, as I stated, and when and by what means. I went on the district drives, the district various I and H drives, and didn't find it. And I asked, and responded stating I look forward to your timely response, to which I didn't hear anything from anybody. So again, I'm just wanting a response. If it is about communication, I'm seeing a lack thereof. So if we could just know as members and staff members, this would be great, seeing how liaison is kind of changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next comment is from Mike Peabody.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Birdwell, Ms. Como, cabinet. I want to first introduce myself as Mike Peabody. I've been told I don't introduce myself when I come up here. I am one of the troublemakers that has found information on this district. I'm one of the troublemakers who was shown this information. But I'm one of the troublemakers who has found it in black and white from district pages. Recently, the 8,000 email dump from Higley Unified School District, also black and white, has been around the internet. We have a problem. Our problem is trust. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines trust as assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of something, and one in which confidence is placed. I can tell you right now, from a parent's view, understanding the teachers, talking to administrators, talking to staff, you don't have their trust. We have an election coming up of an override for the M&O, which needs to be renewed. You don't have the voters' trust. Unfortunately, you don't have it at all. We can, excuse me, my phone's vibrating. We can earn it back. We can correct this course that we're on. We can get the M&O to pass. But we need to take those actions right now. We need to correct things. And as has been seen, first step would be halting all construction and investigating, not by our independent counsel, who is also our bond counsel, but a true outsider that can search, that can request the information, that can put people under oath to figure out what is going on here. Because people out there in the public, they see it as, this is what's coming from Channel 3, this is what's coming from Channel 5, this is what's coming from the Scottsdale Independent, the Arizona Republic. These are the facts that they're seeing. Facts. Not false news. Sorry, Dr. Birdwell. It's all black and white. We've seen it. We live it. We talk about it. We discuss it. Parents come and ask us about what's going on. We show them the links to the emails. We show them the links to the documents that we've gotten. Black and white, what we have from SUSD, from Higley. There's no trust in the administration. I said there's no trust in the board. You have also one big problem. The end of this year, you're looking at least 50% of teachers and staff leaving the district, not because they want to, but they don't trust you. Thank you.
Joe Geisick. Our next commenter is Joe Geisick. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
That's quite all right. Madam President, fellow board members, Superintendent Dr. Birdwell, all Scottsdale staff, parents, taxpayers, and last but not least, students. My name is Joe Gusick, and I'm your lovable, slightly annoying American says I'm your education Lorex. What I brought to you tonight is the actuarials for the Arizona State Retirement System. I'm an odd little duck, or better said, an odd goose. I actually attend those meetings. I'm not a member, but I will not ever let the back of an educator down. I've shared with other school districts from 1988 to 2003, they artificially pushed down the contribution rates to very low amounts. During that time, they actually, until recently, they used the 1994 longevity mortality rates. We knew that changed a long time ago, and when you make assumptions and they're wrong, you make big mistakes. So they're trying to correct these issues, but here's the scenario. As you can see from this document, on that very right side, on that third one down. That should be your contribution rate next year, 13.18 plus your long-term disability. It's not going there. It's going to 11.8, and they're going to sneak it in every single year until they get there. Now, they did the right thing. They took the discount rate, which is the actual rate of return, and took it down to 7.5%, and that's what's pulling that up. And that's why you have a shortfall of $14 billion. As we talk about trust, it's time not to trust those who are up at the state. We need to start asking them hard questions and make sure that this is taken care of, not just in this plan, but all the plans. I appreciate any organization that delivers excellence, and every single day I hear this. I go to schools. We're going to deliver education excellence. I look at you very squarely in the face of all of you. Was that financial excellence? Imagine this. From 2003, the rate was 2.0. Now it's 11.5. It's going to 11.8. It's going to go to 13 plus. These educators, each and every day, keep taking home less and less. The story is the same. Oh, we're giving you more. But they're killing you with your encumbrances on your back. Charters and districts that are a part of the program. Just today, if you had them do it the right way and they were at 5% for the employer and the employer match, guess what? That's $320 million just for the employer side. Oh, that's all day K. That's capital funding. For the teachers, they would take home, and all the employees, not just the teachers, a variety of $2,000 to $4,000 more a year. We need to start educating people in the state of Arizona very specifically that we are going to watch. And if you expect excellence in the classroom, we need to start expecting excellence down at that state capitol. Thank you very much.
Next is Julie Sanowski.
Good evening. My name is Julie Sanowski. I am the current president of Scottsdale Education Association. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for being here and showing that you care about our Scottsdale schools. By definition, a motion of no confidence is a statement or vote which states that a person in a position of responsibility is no longer deemed fit to hold that position, perhaps because they are inadequate in some respect, are failing to carry out obligations, or are making decisions that other members feel are detrimental. In mid-December, the Scottsdale Education Association conducted a 19-question survey, which included 2 that related to a confidence vote. The results obtained show when asked about their confidence level in Superintendent Birdwell, more than 92% of those responding selected the answer choice, I have no confidence in Dr. Birdwell. When asked about their confidence level in our school governing board, more than 92% of those responding selected the answer choice, I have no confidence in our school governing board. These findings are disturbing. That is why the Scottsdale Education Association has taken a formal position of no confidence. I'd like to thank my past SEA president colleagues for standing with me and standing up for the employees and students of the Scottsdale Unified School District. Thank you.
Our final statement is from Susan Hughes.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Susan Hughes. I first want to say congratulations to all the teachers who just earned their national boards. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. That shows the caliber of the teachers we have in this district. I want to define the word integrity. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, as in he is known to be a man of integrity. It's also the state of being whole and undivided, upholding territorial integrity and sovereign integrity. Our goal should be reclamation of integrity by both definitions. There is verification that the Attorney General criminal investigation are undergoing for SUSD as well as 1 GPA. It is insanity to even consider using more poorly defined, open-ended $2 million I thought I saw on the agenda tonight, i.e. a blank check purchase order for 1 GPA. I strongly recommend that the board table that and it not be a consent item. Our teachers, classified staff, parents, students, and yes, community are watching you expectantly, and yes, in horror. They're wanting your views to the response last night, and I believe tonight with Channel 3 and Channel 5. The initial review of the 8,000 emails from HUSD, more are coming. Calling it fake news does not make it so. There needs to be a healing in this community. There is an abscess in SUSD. As a retired physician, the best way to deal with an abscess is to drain it, irrigate it, pack it, and use of antibiotics. Then let it heal from the bottom up with intentionality. Let's consider the report on Channel 3 and Channel 5, the summaries of United Scottsdale as well as the well-researched and substantiated reports on Ross as part of that drainage. It is not emanating from the teachers. I fear that as more contracts come out that we will continue our mass exodus of our teachers and our staff. 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to sprint. This lies squarely on the shoulders of Denise Birdwell and the board that brought her here. We have the opportunity, yes, we have the obligation to restore integrity to our community. Per SUSD policy, anyone under investigation must be put on leave. That has not happened. It is time to irrigate the opened wound. All infection must be cleaned, whether it be antibiotics from the AG's office or inflammation. We are not fake news. Thank you.
Thank you all. We will move to our next agenda, item 8, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with our 2 items being
So
pulled?
moved.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Hartman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We now move to item N, the approval of the purchase of multiple commodities and services through the One Government Procurement Alliance Purchasing Cooperative. Do we have specific questions regarding that, and who will be taking those questions?
Ms. Smith and myself will take the questions.
All right. Board Member Beckham, you want to start us off?
Thank you for moving it off the consent agenda. What I'd like to know is so that we can have some clarity. There have been some questions regarding this particular item, and if you could please clarify the reasons for this program and go into a little bit more detail. And then also, and I know I didn't ask about this earlier, but it just come up, for the procurement of the 1 GPA, we know it's been valid and legal. Our council has told us that. And so if you have any other information that would be helpful, just let us know.
Okay, I'll tackle the why and you can take the financial. All right, great. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell. So this is a phased program we brought to the board a few years back. It allows us to go ahead and retain some of our teachers or any staff member actually that's at the point where they want to go ahead and retire. So we bring them back as veteran staff. We like having them. They've gone through professional development. They're a supervisor. At the case of a teacher, the principal must approve it to be back on their campus as a phased employee. We do have some that come back for 1 year, and then they decide they are ready to fully retire. The state does allow return to work employees, and you actually pay a alternative contribution rate to the state. So some will stay on phase for 1 year and then come back as a return to work employee with us. We have, I looked up some numbers, we have 26 employees, 16 certified, 6 classified, and 4 administrators that are on using the phased program this year.
I think it's also important to note, we had a speaker who said 1 GPA is under criminal investigation, and that is not true. So I want to make sure that we state again that we, to our knowledge, and in talking with the AG's office, having our attorneys do their due diligence, 1 GPA is not under criminal investigation. I need to say that again, because that is a false light.
May I respond to that, please? No.
Continue over here, please. Thank you.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
And also, we have also looked at other vendors that do the same service, and it is at the same cost. So there is no difference if you go with either Smart Schools or ESI. These are contracts with teachers through a third party. They receive their paychecks from the vendor, but they are authorized through us. They attend the same professional development that our direct employees do. An advantage to a teacher is they do get a reduced Arizona State contribution rate. And that if they come back at the alternative contribution rate, the employer pays that entire amount.
All right.
And this is not a budget increase. This is not additional spending. This is a dollar value that wasn't captured at full when we brought back the procurement commodities at the beginning of the year and the end of last year for the following year.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. There was also some confusion of what the fee that we pay for that is, and it was brought out that it was 10%, but that is not true either,
it's a
correct?
4% administrative fee.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the contract is for 1 year for these employees?
Mm-hmm.
And is there and it was mentioned also that there's district policy. So at some point prior to 2015, when we started this program, is there actual governing board policy, or is it just district policy?
The governing board approved going with the vendor back in, I'm going to go up, you say 2015, it's a few years ago that we brought it to the governing board to actually, because we didn't even have a phase program at that point, to bring back that program for employees.
Okay. And to your knowledge, there every year that you go back and you evaluate it, there has not been any problems with the vendor. Is that my understanding?
In fact, last year we actually inquired into this. As you know, there was a talk about a substitute shortage and that sort of thing. So we actually evaluated this firm, and Smart Schools brought them in, had presentations to show how they do professional development, how they hold their employees accountable, and that sort of thing. So we have recently looked at this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Kirby.
Thank you. I have a question for Ms. Marshall. And if we need to go into executive session for you to answer this, just advise so, and I will make that motion. But as our legal counsel, do you have any concerns with this board moving forward on this item tonight?
No, I don't have any concerns with moving forward with this item on ESI tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. Do we have any additional questions or comments? Okay, all right. Okay. So, if no other comments from staff, are we ready to make a motion? Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the purchase of multiple commodities and services through 1 GPA, Government Procurement Alliance, 1 GPA Purchasing Cooperative.
Thank you, Board Member Beckham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Kravitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all. We now move on to our next consent item that was pulled. Approve the purchase of school buses through the Mojave Educational Services Cooperative Mojave contract. All right. Board Member Kirby?
Yes, thank you, President Perlberg. Yes, I pulled this item. Yes. Transportation has, for those of you that are new to the district, has been a sore spot in this district for almost a decade. We have a history of appearing inefficient on the dollars in the classroom report year after year after year. So here we are. We've passed a bond, and it's my understanding that this is to purchase yet more school buses. So if you could walk us through the transaction, and then we'll take, if you'll take questions from there after you have laid out the groundwork. I appreciate it.
So the Transportation Department, as part of the bond statements, a part of the $229 million, it's a little bit under $6 million, was allocated towards student transportation. That is only buses. It's not a white fleet. And the Transportation Department has done an evaluation of the fleet. And you can go to the Arizona Department of Education, to their website, pull down Scottsdale, and there's a report that's an acronym of vehicle inventory reports. So there's a 30-page report of the buses that are Arizona Department of Education is Scottsdale buses. And so on that, it runs, well, what are special ed buses? Have meters been replaced? Is this a lease bus? When did you buy it? What did you pay for it? Who's the maker? How many seats are on this bus? And the value of it. And every year you update your miles. And the Auditor General looks at this to how many miles did the bus wheels turn? This is not a white fleet. And then how many seats do you have available in your district? As part of the evaluation of your transportation efficiency program, the Auditor General is going to look at your occupancy levels. This is how many seats are being occupied on a bus. And with transportation, especially with a unified school district, your little K-3 people are friendly people. They will put 3 people to a seat. A high schooler will not put 3 people to a seat. So this is part of the transportation operations procedures. Then we also this year, by the way, went to the Zonar and the, what was that other program that's going to escape my mind now? It's a route report it's for safety and for routing, keep track of the kids. Every driver has to count how many kids are on that bus, both routes. Transportation, after the 100th day, 12 days after the 100th day, must submit to the Arizona Department of Education your route miles. How many routes did you actually, how many miles did you actually drive, how many kids were on it, and then you estimate you're back 80 days. And then on July 30th, and not before, you run around to all your buses and you write your odometers down so that you can fill out this detailed, detailed report about how many miles did that bus drive. And the only miles that don't really count toward your dollars for the kids is you have what they call deadhead miles, where you're taking a bus for service or you're doing training, which bus drivers require a lot of training. And so one of the many things I noticed when I was new to Scottsdale is this may not be the most accurate piece of information that's ever been submitted to ADE. So if someone is curious and they want to see an example of why I would have concerns, on page 14 of 31, our transportation director, by the way, was hired at Scottsdale in 2015. So these problems are much older than that. But if you look at the 5 first vehicles listed on page 14, we paid an average of $54,423 for each one of these vehicles, which is called a van. And it carries 24 people. I don't know of any vans that carry 24 people, but it's been on here all these years that these are 24 vehicle vans and they're buses. It's just an example of what we have here. And so that's an ongoing process that we have to look at. And the other thing I looked at is we have general fixed assets, which is anything of value the district buys that costs $5,000 or more must be tagged. It must be inventoried every 3 years. So one of the things I looked at in July was, what does our financial software say about transportation GFA items? So every bus has a license plate number. It should also have a tag on it. And so when I ran the report at the end of July, I showed some things that were not at ADE on this list that were in our system as a general fixed asset. And I have other things at ADE that showed not scanned. And I realize that buses are big pieces of equipment and hard to hide. But at the same time, they also move. So I've had the GFA people talk to the transportation people and try and reconcile these reports, because it's a lot of money that's tied up in buses. And as you can see, trade-in value on old buses is not a whole lot. And so they have gone through this. There was 2 definite discrepancies they found that since I reignited this investigation here. And that is that we did, if you remember the day that the transportation director reported, he said, today we have 1 less bus than we did when we reported. There was a crash. We did lose a bus. And so that was on this report. And we also had a bus. In previous bonds, if we bought a bus, it was called a BB bus, which is a bond bus, as compared to just having been bought out of capital expenditures. So those discrepancies have been addressed, but what I have tasked my transportation director to do with me and with GFA people is to go through every single page of this and update this with ADE, which is not an easy task to do. Let me tell you, this is a big thing. And he did attempt to address this a year or 2 ago. I don't know which one it was. And the person at ADE was exceedingly reluctant to remove a vehicle without all the documentation. And I can tell you from my years of experience that there was a woman at ADE, her name was Shirley Willis, and she knew everything about transportation. She was transportation at ADE, and she had the nerve to retire. And the person that has had to replace her has had to go through this learning process. So I commit to you that I will get this reconciled with the transportation department and with the GFA, but they verify there are no missing yellow school buses. And they have some activity buses that the coaches drive that are not part of this fleet. This is a yellow fleet. Now, I guess the AB buses actually technically are on here. But what I want to summarize here, which I have verified, we have 187 yellow school buses. And GFA has identified 187 yellow school buses. This report shows there are 210 vehicles, which means the 23 are AB buses, activity buses, that don't require a CDL to drive. And out of these, 79 are sped vehicles. So what we have done is I put a little check mark here on the buses that we traded in, and I also notated, which is not readily available on the information we provided you, that has the bus miles on these trade-ins. Some of these, 3 of them, are on their 2nd meter. So although it says 183,000 miles, that's on this meter. So there is actually more than that on there, which is not clear in this report. So what we are doing is we are trading in 6 84-passenger buses. Those are the big ones. And 14 49-passenger buses. So we are turning in 1,190 seats, and we are purchasing 11 21-passenger buses, and these are all special ed wheelchair buses. So we're picking up 231 quality seats, which comes with a new bus, which comes with efficiency, which comes in with less air pollution, and it doesn't need a mechanic nursing it every time it goes out. And we are still going in with less than the budget that I had projected it would cost. So old buses, how are old buses valued? This is like a car lot. I'm sorry. This is, you know, you wonder how do they value this? Well, buses, once they're 10 to 12 years old, the laws have changed. So they go down in value. Buses put on 10 to 12,000 miles a year. So at the end of 12 years, you're looking at around 150,000 miles, which requires a lot of work. So the company that you use to trade this in, they then piece it out. And our lowest price is a Thomas that has a blown engine, and it has to be towed, and they're giving us $300 for it. So I don't know what I can do with it, other than haul it to a scrapyard. I don't even know if I have a truck to do that. And the other values, the oldest bus is 2003, most of them are, and the other ones are 2004s, and one 2005, and we're getting up to $7,000. What do they do with it? I don't want to sell this bus. Let me tell you, I don't want to own anything with it. I want to turn it over to a professional, and we've gotten our money's worth out of this.
Board Member Kirby.
Okay, so thank you for that Transportation 101 on reporting. It's helpful because there have always been questions swirling in this district about buses. So I'm grateful that you are going through the process with the Transportation Department and the fixed assets folks to reconcile the physical asset to what we have in our system, to what the Arizona Department of Education has in their system. And what I heard you say is you're not finished.
No, I am not. No.
Okay, so so please continue the march on that. But one of the other highlights of this, though, is that on the dollars in the classroom report that's issued by the Auditor General is we have excess capacity, is what it appears to look from a layperson's perspective. So what I heard you say is that we are trading in 1,190 seats.
90 seats, yes.
That's the 84 the 684 and the 1449.
Yes.
And we're picking up 231.
Yes.
So that's a net seat reduction of 959. Got it. Okay. So I appreciate the information and the work you're doing and sharing. I'd like for us to, before you bring us any other buses to purchase, these are special ed buses, and I think there's a strong case for that, given the data you've provided, both tonight and offline. But before we bring any other bus purchases, I'd like for us to finish this reconciliation process and get our data cleaned up with the Arizona Department of Education. And if they give you a hard time, tell them to call me. Because I've been listening to this for 7 years, and we need their partnership on this. And if they have a concern about what happened to a bus, then I think this board needs to know that as well. Okay?
I agree.
All right, so thank you.
Yeah.
And that's all the questions I have.
You're welcome. And I want to say that Transportation has 2 reports. One is due shortly. It's a 100th day, where they actually do the miles with the kids, and they have that data, and they project forward. Now, the next report is not due until after June 30th, but that's when I need to have this cleaned up. So I am hoping that we can get this complete before in July. These reports you can pull from prior years, so you can actually monitor this. And so my goal is to get that all straightened out. And also with the change of management, that's the other thing, is we've got data here from I don't know how many transportation directors before, I don't know how many business managers, but it never met the priority to get this done. And I'm committing to you that we'll get this done, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, to the best of my ability.
Yeah, so thank you for that. The dollars in the classroom report that highlights the inefficiencies comes out in February, in just like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it does.
And so what I'm hearing is we're not going to see a lot of movement on that this year.
No.
But a year from now, we should see
improvement?
Yes, we will.
Okay,
yes,
thank
we will. And then one of the things also was our cost per mile. That's the other area that they hit us in. And so you're right. And it does take a year or two for this to play catch up. And you're right. It should have been addressed already. So
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Are we ready to make a motion on this item?
No. I have a couple questions.
Oh, Board Member Beckham.
I just wanted to clarify, you had mentioned that it was the $6 million is allocated for the bond for the buses.
yeah, it's just under 6.
But you
5.1.
did not mention the dollar amount for these 11 buses.
Oh.
And then
sorry,
I know we've had a conversation, so you might want to just
it's like
go into the terms.
1.2. It's close to 1.2. That's all I can say. I can't remember that right off the top
Right,
of
and
my
it's a
head.
cash purchase. There's
It is
no
a cash
financing.
purchase, yes. There is no financing. They will deliver. We're still trying to get even more discounts because that's how we do it. And so right now is not the busiest time for purchasing buses. So we're in a good spot here, and we're still negotiating. But I'm quite happy with the progress we've made, and when the buses arrive, they will be paid in full.
And the other piece of information you gave me is that this is the decision to purchase these 11 buses was based upon an evaluation that was done last year by the transportation director, Mr. Cook, correct?
Yes, it's gone on, and the Transportation Committee members, one of the reasons they chose this vendor was because they had a more extended warranty, which of course is important for both transmissions and all those things that buses get.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Are we ready for a motion? Board Member Kirby.
I move we approve the purchase of school buses through the Mojave Educational Services Cooperative Mojave contract.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Hartman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Smith. We will move on to agenda item 9, future items. Do I have any additional requests for future agenda items from our board members? Vice President Hartman.
Yes? Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Sorry. All right. I had to find my notes, and they were in a different place this time because we reordered things.
Yes.
So just 2 follow-up items. I'm not sure this will be, doesn't necessarily a general meeting, but could be just a work study. I would be interested from Ms. Smith, just a follow-up on the public comment from Joe Gusick on the state. I realize it's a state issue, but us being aware of it would be helpful, so that would be terrific. And then I would be interested also in response to public comment, just a status report at some point. There's been a lot of focus on increasing and expanding communication at the site level through the district, and just so kind of just a check-in report of how we're doing, what we're learning, you know, what's working, what needs to be improved. So just kind of an update on that as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Board Member Kirby.
Thank you. Desert Canyon tonight mentioned how they're using results-based funding. And if we're at a place where we can share how the schools that received that funding are using the funding. And I think what we talked about was setting a metric to circle back to determine if that was the best use of those funds. So I don't expect there to be any results yet because we just literally got the money. But I would like to hear how the schools are using the funding and what metric they chose. That, again, that could also be a work study information.
Okay. Thank you. Vice President Hartman, do you have additional?
Yes, this is just following Board Member Kirby, and this is kind of a give a mouse a cookie kind of request, but it was such an outstanding presentation on either what's being used from results-based funding or what's being done across the different schools. So for example, what I noted, and I'm probably going to say this in the wrong order, but for example, from a math perspective, I noticed the usage of AMP, the usage of Ingenuity, the usage of, I think, Success for Math. So I'm just wondering at some point if we could, kind of in the same vein that Board Member Kirby is referring to, is kind of a step back and kind of what we're learning from these new tools. I'm still a big advocate of what's appropriate for the local school. Is the local community needs to decide, but how are we taking those lessons learned and maybe sharing those across, and what actually may be something that can be shared across district-wide. So I realize we're in the midst of the CIPs, but maybe towards the end of the school year, we could kind of take a look at that. Does that make sense? Okay. Thank you.
Any additional requests? Board Member Peckham.
Thank you. I would like to request a conversation, it's most likely in a work study, just to look at determining what action items should be on consent and not consent. And where I'm going with this is maybe having a threshold of a dollar amount. I just start to get uncomfortable when we're talking of having $1 million or so that are on consent agenda and that aren't being discussed. And I don't know if that's important to anybody else or not.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Any additional requests? It looks like not, so we will move on to agenda item 10, dates of upcoming meetings. Our board will meet again Thursday, February 8th, 2018 at 3 p.m. for a study session at the Mojave District Annex. Our next regular governing board meeting is February 13th, 2018 at 5 p.m. here at Coronado. We move on to item 12, governing board reports. Do we have any governing board reports this evening? No? I see none. Wonderful. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Board Member Beckham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all.